Хорошо вас представил. То, чем занимаемся мы, вот у нас две такие глобальные миссии. Одна связана с детьми. Мы помогаем детям в разных странах мира. Будь то африканские страны, Руанда, Бурунди, Кения, будь то страны Центральной Америки, Панама, Колумбия, будь то страны американские, Соединенные Штаты Америки, или Россия. У нас в России очень интересные несколько проектов. Все эти проекты объединены одной единственной целью. Чтобы дети, которые попали в неблагополучную, неблагоприятную среду, чтобы они имели возможность каким-то образом жить своим сердцем, чтобы они, эти дети, осознали необходимость любить, чтобы они осознали необходимость заботиться о своих ближних, чтобы они осознали необходимость быть милосердными и бескорыстными. И вот как раз через подобного рода деятельность мы считаем, что мы трансформируем жизнь этих детей, соответственно, трансформируем нашу действительность. А вторая наша достаточно серьезная сфера деятельности – это вот то, чем мы сейчас занимаемся. Мы создаем такую совершенно глобальную сеть, нетворк, которая объединяет действительно все слои нашего общества, собственно говоря, не нашего общества в рамках одной страны, а нашего общества во всем мире, будет правильно сказать. Это и люди непосредственно, это и организации, некоммерческие организации, негосударственные организации, это и социально настроенные бизнесы, это и средства массовой информации. Мы считаем, что сейчас, на сегодняшний момент, в мире существует такой глобальный негативный, что ли, сигнал. Сигнал, когда на первое место выходит цинизм, когда на первое место выходит насилие, когда на первое место выходят герои, которые убивают, и средства массовой информации об этом пишут, о каждом факте их жизни. И вот так или иначе вот этот сигнал преобладает. Мы же хотим, чтобы через нашу деятельность преобладающим стал сигнал позитивизма, надежды, добра, справедливости. И вот люди совершенно незаурядно объединяются, и мы пытаемся через свою деятельность объединить. Это люди, которые, как мы их называем, opinion leaders, те люди, которые формируют общественное сознание, которые формируют представление о том, что мы должны делать. Они не просто формируют это, они непосредственно делают очень много для других. Мы хотим, чтобы такие люди становились настоящими героями. Хотим, чтобы человек, который творит добро, который делится своей частичкой сердца с теми, кто нуждается, чтобы они были действительно теми, кого берут в пример. Вот таким образом и строится наша программа, об одной из которых мы сегодня будем говорить. Это программа добро.ру в России. И Алексей Ващенко немножко об этом говорил. Мы об этом услышим еще чуть позже.
I'm involved with Anthony, been involved I was here a year ago, and it was a lot colder, so I decided to wear a t-shirt today to feel cold like I did last time. The project I'm involved in with Anthony is to help raise awareness through music. As you all know, music reaches the hearts and reaches the souls of the entire world. And Anthony asked me to come on board as a producer and produce an album with my mom, who I'm very happy traveled with me. Thank you, Anthony. I rarely get to see her, so this is a pleasure to be on a flight with her and to be here. And we hope that we create an album of love, of peace, of happiness, and that all ages, all genders, and all cultures will relate to. And I'm glad to know that Anthony is 100% behind this project, and the funds and the proceeds will go directly to Bright Future International and to helping build the homes and helping the children in need and helping establish facilities for people with HIV, AIDS, people who are sick, people who need help. So I'm just very happy to be here again. I love this country.
First of all, it's a pleasure to meet you. part of his most incredible and very ambitious creation that Anthony has put together. Children are our most important and existing asset that we have throughout this entire world. And to see them suffer for no reason at all does not make sense to me. It never has. And should not to you as well. I've been asked to be a part of this project because we, when I say we, I'm saying me and my peers who are part of the music industry seem to be the messengers of the world. We're the ones who send the message. And hopefully the ones that will be sending through this particular project that's out and what we're going to be doing will be a positive, informative messages that will stimulate those of you in the press to send the positive message that we want to send. I am an ambassador to the UN, the FAO Division, Food and Agriculture Organization. I was the ambassador of health for the United States during the Reagan, Bush, and the first year of the Clinton administration. I traveled the entire world for health issues, specifically the AIDS crisis. And I still am very, very much involved with that. I feel totally privileged to have been asked to be a part of this, and certainly to hope that whatever I can contribute will make an impact on you, your hearts, your minds, your brains, and your pockets.
And is looking for so much more. Let's just start with how they started. There are these two wonderful villages in Panama that I will call prototypes of the kind of love and acceptance that this program is after. And what they do is they take children and they give them access to the world and to the internet and education. The most important thing that Anthony is after is, of course, education for kids, because education will set you free and that you know what's out there to be gotten or to be avoided through education. So you have a place to start. Now that's where this that's what I'm so bold to call the prototype of this group is in Panama. But there's also then they have worked in 3 countries in Africa. Rwanda is one that interests me the most, because of the horror that's happened there over so much time. And they work, with the girls there who were raped and abused through that conflict. So everything from education to a compassion. But the third thing that's most important for me is they're making compassion and caring and rescue mainstream as opposed to special. There are lots of groups out there who do great work, but when you hear about them, you hear about the trials and tribulations. So it's like very special, and you have to think, do I have enough money for that? Blah blah blah. This group is trying to make and carrying a mainstream issue, not special, not do I have enough money, but I have to give this money. So if we can make it mainstream, it'll be like lunch money, hopefully. And every day you have to spend 30 cents at school for your lunch. Every day you have to give in 30 cents to BFI. And let's hope we can do that. And I'm here to promote that and to make everybody aware of the possibilities. So thank you for your time. And I love Russia like I love my life a lot.
Good. Aloha. Ohio gozaimasu. Very honored and privileged to be here as the whole group is. Everyone that I've met for the first time except for Eric, I feel that sense of friendship, of humanness, most of all. We are all people who represent the best principles of this particular group. Feel very much heart connection with everybody. in that way, my participation includes a couple of different areas. Certainly the films that I've done and roles that I've played, certainly wouldn't expect me to be who I am, but but that's why they call it acting. It's a role, and I've taken that role very seriously. It's very different than who I am, but it was the gift that I was given in order to use this vehicle for a much higher purpose. In fact, I'm probably the only actor who was a healer before he came to Hollywood. No other healer in their right mind would enter Hollywood. I come from a background that is always about challenge. There's always about 1 in a million type of chance. I was born in Tokyo, and at 5, we left Tokyo. My father was from Hawaii. He was in the U.S. Army. So half our family was from the United States Army, and my mother's family was Imperial Japanese Navy. No men on my mother's side of the family returned from the war. And certainly my father's brothers served in the U.S. Army. My father served for 20 years. So at 5 years old, we left Tokyo, a very loving sort of Japanese environment, and sailed to San Francisco, and drove from San Francisco on the famous Route 66 all the way across the United States, experiencing the beauty and really for a Japanese child, just the expanse of what nature is, of what true beauty is. And in that experience, to end up in North Carolina in 1955, to experience much oppressive, sort of negative energy, it was very difficult to understand for a Japanese child what I was headed for. It was quite an experience, and quite an experiment. In that moment of about 10 seconds, I had to make a decision whether I was going to simply quit and give up because it was so oppressive, or else I was going to stand up and fight. And certainly I chose the second, but even within that, I don't even know how, at 6 years old, I was able to figure all this out. But one thing that I realized is that fighting only led to more fighting. So I chose not to fight, but to win very carefully without hurting anybody. It was just part of my upbringing, certainly to remain very proud of my culture, be very proud to be Japanese. And that's what I share with Russian people, is very much a strong sense, especially of the men. And that's, every time I come, I'm reminded that this is a country of warriors and not soldiers. And in that sense, my participation in this group to bring that sort of energy of warriorhood to especially young boys, and certainly young ladies also need that sort of sense of commitment, of truth and integrity in who they are. And that's what the martial arts has taught me. Although as a healer, again, that's contradiction, but in that there's also martial healing. And that's what I wish to bring to the children of the world and the adults. Children first, women first. Men have to kind of wait till last, but certainly in that sense, I've been developing a system of healing for 35 years from the principles of martial arts called Shushin. It's about breathing. And in that sense, for all of us to come together, I found that healing is most powerful when we find those parts of us that is all similar. And at the key, actually, for the sort of practical end of it is breathing. And breathing for all disease, for all sort of ailments, virus, to me, what I found in my sort of small experience of that is that breathing can heal anything. That all the oppression, all the stress that we all experience can be relieved by breathing. And I wish to bring that, especially to the children who are underprivileged, who've had situations that certainly they don't deserve, but to give them a perspective that they are in fact very powerful simply by experiencing themselves in a different way, and the breath will do that. So that is certainly one huge part. I'll make the second part short. I'm very much involved in food product, and I'm engaged, invested in a company that has now maximized the potential digestion of protein of soybean, of which typically was 30 to 40%. The gentleman, a farmer in Idaho, experimented and found a way to maximize the protein digestibility to 100%. And we're very much anxious to become part of school lunch programs and certainly feeding the world. In fact, the program is called Kids Feeding the World. And for 50 cents a day, we can keep a child alive for protein that comes from soybean. So that's why I'm here. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but I'm totally committed to this project, to the principles of this project. It takes me back to North Carolina in 1955 to have finally reached at the age 62. From 6 to 62 has been the first part of the journey, and the second half begins here in Russia. Спасибо.
Который называется «Война принцессы». Так слово «принцесса» пишется с большой буквы, потому что это кличка героини. И с нашей точки зрения это крайне серьезная, актуальная картина. Речь не идет о детях, о судьбах детей. Мы очень надеемся, что этот фильм увидят и в России, и во многих странах мира, потому что проблема, которая поднимается в этом фильме, она абсолютно международная. Это такая история, что ли, вариация на тему Ромео и Джульетты. Любовь двух подростков, кавказский мальчик, русская девочка. Но в принципе такие истории происходят везде, по всему миру. Когда межнациональная рознь взрослых отражается на судьбах их детей. Межрасовая рознь, межрелигиозная рознь. То есть мы очень надеемся, что этот фильм прежде всего заставит задуматься взрослых о том, как живут их дети и на что они обрекают детей. Сценарий фильма писали мы вместе с Денисом Радиминым. Снимал его замечательный, лучший, на мой взгляд, оператор российский Максим Осадчий. Там принимали участие такие актеры, как Лянка Грыу, Артур Смольянинов, Наташа Ионова, она же Глюкоза, и многие другие. И в Самаре, в частности, в рамках программы «Добро.ру» у нас будет творческая встреча, где мы покажем картину «Война принцессы» первый раз на большой аудитории и ждем с нетерпением реакции наших зрителей.